Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name is Mark McNulty, president of Action Coach Bluegrass, Southern Indiana. Today, I have Mark Pfeifer, the founder of Wigglewow, as my guest. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having me on your show, Mark.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Mark's business, his journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. Now, if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop new conversations just like this one. So, Mark, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a great journey so far.
Yeah, so go ahead and tell our listeners a little bit about you and Wigglewow and how this all came about.
Yeah, so I was actually working in corporate America. For those that are in the area, it's a GE Appliance Park back in 2014. And I was speaking over the internet via Skype with my brother, who has a son with severe autism. And he goes, "Hey, brother, I want you to quit corporate America and start a company that provides short and long-term opportunities for adults with special needs." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, so what does that look like for you?" And so we bounced a couple ideas off of each other. And that kind of really started the whole Wigglewow journey. I really feel that God spoke to me through my brother and put this on my heart. And I spent a lot of time working on the recipe, because the other thing that God said to me, he goes, "Yeah, you can start a company, employ adults with special needs, and people might buy that first bag of dog treats because they love your mission. But if their dogs don't like the treats, they won't pick up the second bag." And so we literally spent over 2 years working on the recipe, where I found 50 of my peers that I worked with at GE that gave their dogs treats every single day. And I told them that once we do a test where we gave their dog a chance to choose between the Wigglewow treat and our treat, once we had 45 or more, up to 50 dogs pick my recipe, I was going to quit. And so the first time I did it, only 7 dogs picked my recipe. So I was kind of depressed that day. God obviously knows I didn't know how to make dog treats, but over 2 years later, 47 out of 50 dogs picked our treats. And that's when we launched in August 10th, 2019. So that's when Wigglewow started.
Wow. So are you the sole founder,
Yep.
CEO? Do you have partners?
Yeah. So I'm the sole founder. It is currently an LLC. And the reason we are a for-profit company is because what a lot of people don't realize is, if you ask any parents that have an immediate son or daughter that's special needs, their biggest concern is, who's going to take care of my son or daughter when I die? And there just aren't a ton of financial opportunities for families out there in America or even anywhere in the world. So the reason we were for profit is because we wanted to sell franchises, and the only people that could buy franchises of Wigglewow would be families that have immediate members with special needs. So they would grow the franchise, then they'd put that into a trust. So after they passed, the profits from the trust would still care for their son or daughter. So that is the whole purpose for the business and the business structure.
Okay. What's your role currently in the business? You've been open for, a little over 4 years now, right?
Yep. Yeah. So as you know, as an entrepreneur, you start off and you pretty much do everything, right? But fortunately, we've grown from having one epic chef. That's the title that we give our employees with special needs. 4 years ago, we're up to 33 now. And we're praying that by 2019, we'll be the largest employer for adults with special needs in America. So I've slowly learned to release the reins in different parts of the business, right? Because what most entrepreneurs understand is, as you grow, you can't keep doing everything. There's just not enough time of the day, and you're going to start missing things. And so you have to start depending on people that can pick up. That's going to free up some of your capacity to focus on other parts of the business. So I have people now that help out with the day-to-day operations within what we call the doghouse. That's our FDA approved commercial kitchen. And so because they're kind of handling the day-to-day operation, that allows me to do things like this interview right here, right? And to make sure that customers are taken care of. We're looking at new partnerships with other organizations that may want to carry our treats, those types of things. So yeah, I'm still very heavily involved, but I don't control as much of the day-to-day operation as I once did.
Okay. So do you have a general manager running things day to day?
Yes, we have some of the parents are very capable. So that's another unique aspect with our business, is most companies won't allow a parent to work with their son or daughter. And what we find is a lot of our epic chefs don't want to work with their parents. So we have enough variety and space where a parent can work in a totally different area than their son or daughter. And everyone just loves it. So some of the parents have picked up. And so it's not like I have one person every single day. Some of the parents, different days of the week kind of cover that. And I'm also training one of our epic chefs, Brendan, to carry on the day-to-day operation.
Okay, awesome. So as you said, they'll buy once for the mission, but they're only going to come back and keep buying if you like it. So what is it about your product that makes it fly off the shelves?
Yeah, so it's the bacon. It's a second main ingredient, and it's not artificial or bacon flavoring. It is the same crumbled bacon that you and I buy either from Sam's Club or Costco. That's what we buy. We buy 80 pounds of it a week. We grind it up. That's the second main ingredient in our treats. And one of the things I found, and I really started with my dogs when I was doing that test over the 2 years on the recipe, my dogs had never had bacon. They love peanut butter. And so when some of my people in that 50 population were giving me recommendations to improve the results, they said, hey, you should do a recipe with bacon. So I tried one with bacon and my dogs picked the peanut butter over the bacon. I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to work. But when we let the other 50 people try it with their dogs, they picked bacon over peanut butter because they had had bacon before. And so what I've since learned is once a dog has something or they've smelled it, they don't forget. For example, and it's maybe not a very good example, but if you've ever taken your dog to the dog park, the first time a dog meets another dog, they make the owners feel very uncomfortable because they're sniffing each other's crotches. They're all over the place, right? But the second time those dogs meet, they sniff noses. They don't do the whole crotch thing anymore because they remember, and it could be months. And if they sniff a nose, they remember. I mean, that's how sensitive a dog's nose truly is. So any dogs that have ever had bacon, and the majority of the dogs love, I mean, we even love bacon, right? So, yeah. So if a dog's ever had bacon and they'll smell the bacon in our treats. And then when it tastes it, they're like, oh, yep, this is the real stuff. And they absolutely love it.
So that's great. Yeah. Product testing with the dogs is, really going to be the only way to know, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Tell me a little bit about how you market your product. How do you get it out there so that you can get that first try, which then results in the repeat business?
Yeah. So what we found is anytime you pay for like printed publication or whatever, people still don't get the gist of what our mission and our company is all about, right? I mean, if you see someone with Down syndrome on a sheet of paper, it might get your attention, but you may not take the time to read what it's about. If you walk by us at the state fair or you walk by us at the farm and machinery show or whatever, you're going to have the opportunity to speak to our staff. And that is what is a game changer for us, because then it becomes real versus just seeing a picture of someone or whatever. You see these individuals that no one else was willing to give a chance to have a job that paid them more than minimum wage. And then you hear how much they enjoy their job, and that, if you bring your dog to the show, even we'll give your dog a sample right there. So even your dog's going to tell you how much they love the treat. So to answer your question specifically, Mark, obviously we're online, but to drive people online, it's either through social media, through partnerships, through retail stores locally, or doing a lot of trade shows across the region.
Okay. So what are some of the local retail locations?
So we're in 25 Kroger stores. We're in the 3 value markets. Cox's Liquor they had us before the end of the year. They're getting ready to place another order. So we'll be in Cox's Liquor again. We're actually getting ready to launch a partnership with Speed Wash. They have 8 locations or car washes. They're going to have what they call Wigglewow Wednesdays. So if you bring your car with you through the car wash, you're going to get a free Wigglewow treat. See if your dog likes it or not. But the largest retailer, though, so the dog shop in Nulu, they have a lot of our products in there. The Popcorn Station on Taylorsville Road, as well as a Taste of Kentucky and 2 Chicks and Company, which are also in Shelbyville. And we're even in Bernheim Forest. It's exit 112 off of 65. So we're lots of places.
Okay. So what do you find most effective in marketing, other than obviously getting a treat in the dog's mouth? So what are you doing to drive people? So is it social media? Is it?
Yeah, it's social media. It's the video, right? Videos are the way of the world today in social media. I mean, you can sit there and have all the still shots or all the words you want, but a video really captures what's going on. We have a video of a dog where we call it the Wigglewow Challenge, where an owner sits there and it has the treat the dog used to think was its favorite, and the Wigglewow treat. We had one where the guy is sitting in his chair, the owner is, and he's trying to get his dog to take the old treat. He just doesn't even let him. He sees the Wigglewow treat. keeps trying to give him the other one. And so the dog finally takes the treat out of his hand and drops it 5 feet away from him and comes back and looks right at the Wigglewow treat. When you have videos like that, it's priceless. It truly is. It captures so much emotion and energy right there in that one shot.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Video is definitely the way to go, especially with pets. So that's great. I assume TikTok,
Yep. Yeah, we're on
Instagram.
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah. So another thing I'd share with entrepreneurs is you should always protect your brand, right? Hopefully people already understand that whenever you're trying to pick out a name or whatever, you want to Google it to see if it even exists, if it's out there, right? And if it hasn't been trademarked, well, if it has been trademarked, you shouldn't be using it because they're going to come after you and you're going to have to change everything you spent your money on. But if it hasn't been trademarked, before applying for the trademark, make sure you lock in that same name on all the social media platforms. So I thought to do that on Facebook, right? So it's just straight Wigglewow on Facebook. But if you go to Instagram or TikTok, it's _ Wigglewow _ because when I applied for the trademark for Wigglewow, someone somewhere went out and immediately grabbed those names. So they want me to spend several $1,000s and buy the names from them. Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Interesting. So what was it like going from corporate to being an entrepreneur?
Oh yeah.
Well,
So
tell me about that transition.
yeah. So I used to make a great salary in corporate America. And so I didn't retire, I quit. And so for 2 years, I've been telling my boss, hey, once this recipe gets to where 45 or more dogs love it, I'm out of here. So she had been hearing me tell her that I was going to quit for 2 years. So when I put my 2-week notice in, she didn't believe me. And she's like, yeah, there's no way you're going to do this. And honestly, I'm not going to tell you it was an easy decision. It is scary, right? So I prayed about it a lot and leaned in on a lot of close friends and made sure, hey, I was doing the right thing. But the thing that I'd also caution other entrepreneurs to do, be very careful about who you're leaning into to get advice. Because if it's individuals that have never ran their own company before, they're not going to give you the advice you're looking for because they don't have the experiences, right? I mean, honestly, I would like to think that a majority of the people in America would love to start their own company and do their own thing, right? And many of them probably wanted to at some point, and for some reason were unsuccessful. And Mark, one of the things that always cracks me up, because I love traveling around the world, and when I go to several different countries, what I find out is that the families in these foreign countries tell their sons and daughters to get good grades in school so that you can go to college and move to America to start your own company. But in America, we tell our kids, get good grades, go to college so that you can get a good job working for someone else. Why is it that everywhere else in the world, they tell you to go to America and start your own company? It's the land of opportunities. But in our own culture, we don't do that. Isn't that kind of crazy? I mean, so it was scary. But when I reached out to other entrepreneurs, they said, no one's going to have more belief in what you're trying to do than you. And that's absolute truth, right? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that don't want to see us succeed because then they feel inferior because they tried it and were unsuccessful. So make sure you're reaching out to people that have been successful, because that's what you want, right? You don't want to reach out to people that maybe tried and failed. That's not really the outcome you're looking for. So I did that, and that made the transition easier. And I'm not going to say it's all a basket of roses, right? I mean, it's day to day, the grind, you make it happen, but it is well worth it. I mean, to not have to answer to other people. I mean, when you're designing your brand and your colors, you don't have to answer to anybody. You get to pick whatever you want. You have team members that want to make a change. As a business, you can change on a dime. You don't have to wait for some board or a whole bunch of people to give the approval. You can change very quickly. And that's critical to make sure you can adapt to the changing markets, and so you're still successful.
Yeah, that perspective of international people coming here to start a business versus Americans, we stay here to get a job. I've never heard that put that way before, but that's really true. That's really interesting. So I'm glad I asked that question. Great. So think back on your journey. What are some memorable roadblocks or hurdles that you didn't expect that you just had to deal with?
Yep. So the first one for me, because I employ adults with special needs, I found out that an individual with special needs cannot have more than $2,000 in their bank account. And I was like, what are you talking about? They can't have more than $2,000 because the federal government allows me as an employer to pay people with special needs less than minimum wage. But I choose not to, right? We're trying to, as I tell people, I said, our whole world continually tells this population what they can't do. God created Wigglewow to show all of us what they can do. And so when I found that out, the first thing I had to figure out is, okay, I know some of my staff got me more than $2,000 a year, right? So what can we do to overcome this? And so I found a lawyer that taught me how we can work their payment. There's like an ABLE account and there's a special needs trust that are exempt from that $2,000 limit. So that was the first major hurdle. So once we overcame that, we were good to go. The second one I kind of already talked about was the recipe. The third one is having access to money, right? And so the third critical one for me was getting approved for a line of credit. And that truly is priceless. I mean, you can sit there and work the whole credit card thing. You know that the cutoff is on the 26th. So you make all your purchases on the 27th because now you essentially have 60 days to pay that bill versus just 30 days. So I worked that as long as I could. And then it reached a point where it just wasn't working. So I talked to my banker. And that is something else I'd recommend. Get in very close with your bank because they want small businesses to be successful. They want you to grow into a Fortune 500 business, right? Because then they can brag that they supported you that whole time. So they want you to be successful. And there's probably a lot of tools out there that a new entrepreneur wouldn't even know are available until you sit down and talk with them. And so again, having that line of credit has really saved my bacon lots of times because you're able to borrow money from it, make sure you have payroll or order the ingredients you need or whatever. And then when you have Kroger that pays you 30 days later, the payment for that invoice finally comes in, then you can get that paid off in no time and you're good to go again.
Right. How have you grown as a business owner over this time?
One of the biggest challenges is learning when to let go. So obviously, as the business itself grows, what you find is you're not as accessible as you were initially, right? So when I first started, all the staff had access to me all the time. And it was crazy because like people always ask, what do you want to be called? Are you Mark? Are you Mr. Pfeifer? Whatever. And I'm like, hey, I'm not going to get caught up on that. I don't worry about it. And then about 18 months ago, an employee started and she started calling me boss. So everyone started calling me boss. And I'm like, I don't want to be known as the boss, right? And so I said, no, please don't call me boss. And so then her parents came to me and said, hey, you need to understand, our daughter tried finding a job for 20 years and has always wanted a boss. Please let her call you boss. And so I did. So now everyone calls me boss. But the whole accessibility, so that's been hard for some of the staff because before they could just walk up anytime and start talking to me, shoot the breeze. And now they understand that, hey, production's at a much higher rate now. Expectations have grown. So I'm not as available as I once was when I was working right there next to them. The other thing is, I think it's very important to make sure that you put in measures that give you a good family and work balance. Because as entrepreneurs, we could be working every minute. I mean, you go home, right? And you're going through emails, you're checking social media, you're checking all this stuff. That's when you need to say, hey, what is the priority in my life, right? At the end of the day, this business isn't going to be at my gravesite. It's going to be my spouse, right? And so you got to make sure you invest in your marriage and in your family as well. Now, I know initially, I mean, starting a business, it is all about, you have to be the walking billboard all the time. But at some point, you got to make the decision. And my bride, honestly, helped me make that decision. She's like, starting 2024, starting this year, I'm allowed to work Wigglewow 1 weekend a month. Where last year, I'm not kidding, out of 52 weekends, it was probably 40 to 45 weekends was all Wigglewow. And so that's something, as you grow, you definitely need to put parameters in place to make sure your whole well-roundedness is healthy and growing.
As the leader of an employee base that most people don't really understand, how have you had to adapt kind of your management and leadership styles to be able to help your team thrive as well as your business thrive?
Yeah. So with a traditional type business, you develop a workstation and you just train your staff to do it, right? And then you have the workstation instructions there. They come in, boom, they're good to go. That's not my world. And the other thing I've quickly learned is when parents talk about their son or daughter, they'll always use a term, oh, my son or daughter's high functioning. Well, I've quickly learned that the scale for high functioning is about as wide as you can imagine. And so when you have that workstation, I tend to focus when someone comes in and works, if they're unsuccessful, I determine how they were unsuccessful and why. Okay, so then once I identify that, are there job aids or something else we can, maybe it's a fixture, maybe it's something that helps them position the product so that they're successfully repeating the same task over and over, right? So that's what's kind of unique about my world is everyone has different abilities and not everyone has the same ability. And so that's the first challenge. And then the second challenge is when you do need to get feedback, it is amazing because, you know, in corporate America, I'd like to think that most everyone can handle constructive feedback, but that's not necessarily true. But it's definitely not true in my world. I mean, some person, you can just tell them, hey, you need to do this. It's no problem. The next person would break down in tears, right? So you definitely need to be conscientious of that, understand your different employees, know how they respond, what motivates them, and you need to make sure you adapt your approach and the way you work with them to make sure you compensate for that. So yeah, it's definitely different because I obviously as a manager for all kinds of people in corporate America, and yeah, this is totally different. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And you know, it's interesting, especially in today's day and age where, you know, the employer-employee relationship has changed since COVID. There's probably some lessons in there that we could all learn and apply regardless of who our employees and teams are.
Absolutely. Yep.
In terms of
Very true.
individual needs versus just do what I say.
Right. Well, and I mean, even when, because I was in the military way before all this stuff, and one of the things I learned is if you take care of your team, they'll always be there for you. And that I found that to be true, whether it's in the military, corporate America, and even here in the doghouse at Wigglewow. You take care of your team, they'll step up if humanly possible, if they're able, and they'll make sure that whatever it is you're asking or requesting, that it'll be successful in the end. So, yep, I completely agree with that.
Awesome. Well, we've covered a lot of ground here today. I really appreciate it, Mark. I've got a few kind of wrap-up questions here, just kind of top of the head answer. First one is, what's your key to success?
Key to success. Okay. I would say my key to success is I never expect anything more out of what I expect of myself. Right. And so I'm always there to make sure that the communication is very clear and that they have all the tools they need to be successful so that at the end of the day, when someone else is successful, then I win as well. So I think it's being involved, leading by example, and making sure people are set up for success.
Okay, great. So what's one piece of advice for other business owners?
Yeah, I would say your employees, that's got to be your number one asset. And I mean, machines are going to break and you can replace the machines, whatever, but your employees can do more harm or good based on how they feel about working with you as a company. You know, when you and I grew up, Mark, we would stay with the same company for years, right? That's
Yep.
not true today. People bounce around like crazy. And so you want them to stick around, show them how much you appreciate. You know, take the time to write a little sticky note, tell them that you appreciated what they did, or take them out to lunch, or take time to stop by their, oh my gosh, the founder stopped by and spent 5-10 minutes talking with me today, just shooting the breeze, find out what I did this weekend. That'll make all the difference in the world for the operation of any company.
Awesome. What's a book you've read or listened to? A lot of people just listen to books now and no one reads them anymore. What's something you've read or listened to recently that you would recommend to other business owners or aspiring business owners?
So, Who Stole My Cheese? I know it sounds kind of ridiculous and it's a very quick read, but it is amazing. That little simple book can really hit the heart of different people's perspectives and attitudes on how to handle a situation. Very insightful book.
Okay, awesome. Last question on this round is, so if I had a magic wand, and I don't, by the way, but if I did and I could wave it over one aspect of your business, what would you want to immediately improve?
The amount of sales. We have over 40 people with special needs on our waiting list, and that's just in the Louisville area. And so this is a shortage all across the nation. And so we're praying that by 2029, we're going to be the largest employer in America for adults with special needs. And my money tree died last year. It was
Yeah.
growing great, but the freeze, just recently killed it. So without that, we're really dependent on sales to be able to employ more of these people. We all want a purpose. That's all we're trying to give them through Wigglewow is a purpose and to watch them grow. So through sales.
Awesome. Before I get to my very last question, so people can find you on Facebook. Obviously, wigglewow.com is the website, Wigglewow on Facebook. You said Instagram is _Wigglewow_. And what about TikTok?
Same thing, _Wigglewow_. Yep.
Okay. And then on your website, you got your list of locations where they can find it and they can purchase them online as well.
Yep. And I'd actually recommend bringing your dog to the doghouse. We're here Monday through Thursday from 10 to 3. We'll give your dog tons of treats, but you'll actually experience firsthand what the Epic Chefs, our adults with special needs, are able to do, making these delicious treats for your dog.
Okay. That's on Waterson Trail, right?
Yes, sir. 10529 Waterson Trail.
Okay.
Right across from the fire department.
Perfect. Easy to find, good location. So last question, what inspires you the most right now?
Watching an individual that has struggled trying to do something and then seeing them be successful at it. And with so many of my Epic Chefs, we have one young lady, her name's Sarah, and normally her mom helps her do everything. Last week, for the first time, she was able to grab labels and put them on a bag all by herself. And that's what gets my butt out of bed. I see how much this opportunity means to our staff. And so when I see them succeed doing things that historically they were unsuccessful to accomplish, that means the world to me. We celebrate with them. It's a big deal. Something as simple as putting a label on a bag for you and I, it's like, well, what's the big deal with that? Man, that's something that they've never been able to do before. Or even like putting the gloves on their hands by themselves. It is amazing. Just the simplest things can mean the world to this population. That's what motivates me.
That's awesome, Mark. I love what you're doing. I love the business approach. That's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Mark Pfeifer, the founder of Wigglewow. I highly suggest you go to his website, wigglewow.com, read their story, read what they're all about, and plan a visit and get a treat for your dog and see how your dog reacts to bacon treats. So appreciate your time today, Mark. I am quite certain that our listeners really appreciate what you've shared, not just about your mission, but how you've put it together and your leadership style that you've adapted. And we wish you the best of success.
Well, thanks again, Mark, for this opportunity. I know you get to pick and choose which companies are a part of this, and I'm just so thankful and blessed that you chose us and gave us this opportunity.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you all again on our next show to be coming out in a couple of weeks. So thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
Take care.